Hi and welcome to the channel, and welcome back if you're a return viewer. If you're new, I hope you'll stick around and see what I can do on this channel. On this channel we review books, and today's book is The House is Full of Yogis by Hodgkinson. Now, I read a previous book of Hodgkinson's about a month ago. It was called In Perfect Harmony. Actually, it's his latest book, and it's about the lesser known or lesser remembered UK 1970s hit songs. It was an excellent book, and I was looking around to see what else he had written, and this book kind of stuck out as being different from the rest of his work, which seems to concern music and music related topics. This one is a memoir. It's a memoir of a very specific time in his life in the early 1980s, when he was a young teenager and his family faced major upheaval. We're introduced to the family in two opening chapters. The first one involves a party, one of three parties that are described in the book. First party, we meet the family. His father, who he refers to by his first name of Nev, is a kind of mild-mannered journalist who covers medical topics for a local newspaper. His mother is more of like a celebrity journalist for the tabloid papers. And his brother Tom, who is kind of obnoxious and really into himself. And the second chapter involves a kind of disastrous boating holiday they took later on in that time period. Everything that could go wrong does go wrong, and but it provides a really good insight into the family dynamics and who hates who and why, and what they all end up relating to each other about. Sorry, that's getting a little complicated. And anyway, the majority of the book does take part after a second party, and there's something really disastrous happens again to the family and to everyone at the party. Is that due to a mix-up with some defrosted chicken, most of the party goers get a dose of salmonella. Now, Will's father, Nev, gets the worst case of salmonella and has to stay in hospital for quite a long time. And after he's out of hospital, he has to go convalesce, stays in America. And when he comes back, he is a changed man. And he's not only is he recovered, but he's found religion, basically, and he has converted it to a Indian spiritual sect, the Brahma Kumaris, who believe, among other things, that the world is on a 5,000 year repeating cycle. Everyone is reincarnated, and we just in the current body as long as it's convenient, and we just continue on until the world reaches a new golden age, and then we start again. Now, the Kumaris seem to be quite harmless to start with, and Nev basically attends their meetings and learns their teachings and becomes a true believer. Now, this at first doesn't really affect the family too much. His wife is pretty nonplussed about it. Tom is just dismisses it outright, and Will, the author, kind of is slightly curious about these Eastern religions. Now, when Nev is talking about the religions and the 5,000 year cycle, he mentions that a apocalypse will happen to end the cycle, and this will in turn lead to the golden age, but everyone will die anyway. And that kind of haunts Will, and it's not helped when he views the nuclear war movie Threads on television around that same time. So he's kind of haunted by this, and that kind of leads to his curiosity into the Brahma Kumaris, and he attends some of their classes and whatever, and he's kind of dabbling with it for his own interest and as a way to be closer to his father. At the same time, all sorts of other things are changing in his life. He's part of the changes after his father's health scare. The parents have decided to send him to a different school, not the one he was expecting to go to, and he is also thinks he's falling in love with one of his friend's sisters. So it's all up in the air, and we get all his teenage angst and thinking and worries, and there's a mixture of the music and the culture of the time all added into this heady mix. Another large section concerns Will. He's sent away on like a summer camp, which turns out to be quite disastrous. He ends up withdrawing from everybody there and keeping to himself. Then after the summer camp, he goes away to the school that his parents have decided to send him to. So it's a kind of permissive school where kids have freedom to do this and that as long as they stick within certain boundaries. And when he visits the school, he thinks it's horrendous, but once he goes there, he actually ends up thriving. But not before starting a kind of minor crime with shoplifting and all that type of thing beforehand. He meets some great friends at the school, and meanwhile his father Nev has decided to sell the family home and buy a derelict home to renovate. And the Kumaris are slowly getting their claws into him, and he basically puts the family home up as like a drop-in centre for the Kumaris and the various Yogis which are part of their faith. And soon the Yogis are basically inhabiting the family homes non-stop. Will comes home to the new house and finds that his father's confined to a basement, and his father has actually left his newspaper job and has decided to write a book on alternate medicine. There's stresses and strains on the family, and soon things get even worse. His father tries to change his and his wife's will to leave the Brahma Kumaris as sole beneficiaries. Now this causes major ruptions and serious consequences for all involved. Now it is a really interesting book. I may have bored you with that little precis, but it's very warm and human, and we see everything from teenage Will's point of view, how he's feeling, how all these upheavals are getting together to cause him to go, you know, almost off the rails. And he, kind of, like I said, he is dabbling in and out with these Kumaris himself, and he decides to take them a little bit more seriously. In the end, when he's a little bit older, he actually goes with his father to their headquarters in India, but decides that temptations of the pleasures of the flesh and just normal life are just too much for him, and he'll never be able to surrender to the Brahma Kumaris. And he treats them still with respect, but he just knows that it's not going to be for him. Now, like I said, the characters of the family are really well drawn. You kind of get inside the heads of each of them. Another thing I forgot to mention, that his mother actually writes a book called Sex is Not Compulsory, about having a sexless marriage and sexless relationships. And this, of course, causes poor Will no end of embarrassment when his mother becomes a media star for a short while as a result of the publicity of the book. That's just another thing he has to put up with. So it is warm and engaging. It's a really interesting read. If you're into memoirs, you can't go wrong with this one. So that is The House is Full of Yogis by Will Hodgkinson. Okay, thank you. We'll see you in the next video.